Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Sawdust Nation podcast with your hosts. The hosts with the mosts. You got Josh from North Country Woodworking, Nap from Nap's Naughty Works LLC, and myself, Nick, from NPG Creations. This week's episode has been brought to you by PWN CNC. Check them out, pwncnc.com. They got those new spindle kits. Perfect time to order, especially with that 10% off coupon code that we got, Sawdust Nation. Also, we'd like to thank Totalboat for their continued support. Totalboat has been a major supporter of all three of us on the podcast. They have the amazing epoxy, so check them out at totalboat.com. And if you want a 10% off promo code for them, go ahead and slide into the Sawdust Nation DMs on the Big IG or shoot us an email at sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. And last but not least, Jtechphotonics, thank you for your continued support. Check them out, jtechphotonics.com, and tell them Nick sent you. Now, let's talk about what's going on in the shops. It's getting close to the holidays. I know these guys have been jobbing. I know I've been jobbing. But let's hear. I know Josh got some interesting numbers. He's been quantifying the, what do you call that? The ornament game. So, Josh, take it away. What do you got?
Christmas. Christmas is coming. And because Christmas is coming, it means jobs are coming, which means we're all busy in the shop, like you said, Nick. Essentially, my wife nailed down a deal with a company to do 60 ornaments, and not just a carve and go ornament. It's a double layer. So we did 120 pieces on the Glow Forge the last couple of days. Cleaning up, painting. We haven't glued them together. I just finished the painting tonight. Assembly is probably going to be tomorrow, and then obviously put the hangers on there as well. They're actually on the table behind me over here to my left. Yeah, it's been interesting. The Glow Forge is going pretty much nonstop because I also have other projects I'm doing too. So when we're not carving an ornament, we're throwing other projects in there. But for the most part, it's been a workhorse for us here. In addition to that, the USO project that I was doing is now complete. I finished that up today. I had to do some little bit of engineering on that myself. And that consisted of me using the Glow Forge again to make some arms so I can do a pull out or fold down keyboard for the computer mounts I was doing for the USO. Originally, I was going to try to use little actuators, kind of like for the ones you use for your cabinet to kind of open them up automatically, but it wasn't really doing what I wanted. I couldn't adjust the pressure, and it would have took quite a bit of force to get them closed. So for our Patreons out there, this is just kind of like the assembly I did. It's nothing too crazy. Put like dog bones with a 1/4 inch slot in there so bolts can slide. And basically all it does is when it folds out, it locks like that, and then it folds together like that in the end. And you get to time that one bolt, and it basically locks assembly into place. It worked fairly well. I kind of had to think about it for like a half a day before I came to what I wanted to do with it, but they're together now, and can't wait to actually hang them up. I actually did something a little differently too. They wanted it on a French cleat so it's easy to take off the wall when needed, but they wanted it secure enough that no one can just pull off the entire box and kind of walk away with it. And that kind of left me with, having to think about how I was going to secure these mounts. So I went the French cleat. I did an overhang on the back so it's flush with the wall. But I put a straight board about 1/8 of an inch below the other French cleat. So basically you couldn't lift this off the wall if you tried because the two French cleats would prevent you from doing that. In addition, you have to slide it into the cleat to actually mount it to the wall. And there's a lock door that secures both the computer equipment and the cleat so that only a key can open it, and both are secure. This project was fairly unique in the way that I had to kind of engineer a couple different things to make everything secure and, work as advertised. So it was fun. I don't get to do that very often. A lot of times things are pretty straightforward, like make a box, put a top on it. But it was good.
Step one, make a box.
And you know what? It is a box. So I still made a box. But I'll be doing 2 shadow boxes here on the next couple of projects and then finishing up the wine can as well. with a sprinkle in with other projects such as a couple orders for mallets and some plaques as well. But that pretty much wraps up my shop. A lot of little things going on, but I'll sprinkle those in throughout the episode. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss it over to Nap because he's pretty concentrated on something.
Always. So just like you said, never stops. I'll tell you what, I did say I stopped taking orders.
Liar.
I am a liar, in a sense. So at the end of the day, if a customer gives me a job that requires me just to do some editing to a file, throw my laser and go, I mean, that's like, okay, cool. That's an hour on the laser because normally it's a fairly sizable job. I can let that run while I'm working something else. So I'm still making money while, my machine's not sitting stagnant. So I was like, okay, couple laser jobs, not a big deal. But anyways, so I finished that walnut hat case. It literally left the house about 2 to 3 hours ago. She gone. No lights. I think I did it in a new all-time record. If I were to put the amount of hours, I
thought you froze.
I did for a second, actually. To put it in perspective,
it was right after you said she gone.
I think it only took me a total of maybe 5 hours total work, and that's with CNC. I took 3 days, but it was 5 hours total work. So 5 hours total work for X amount of dollars, I'd say was pretty good. I had mentioned last podcast that I had 23 jobs on the list. I have 2 jobs left, 3 jobs left as of today.
So you've been jobbing it.
Yeah. I've been pretty much rocking and rolling. I did, let's see. I finished that one hat box that I showed last time. It left as well, so thankfully. So I have 2 hat boxes that left the house. I had a rope display thing that I did in like a couple hours. I did a hat stand. Actually, my best hat stand to date. I did that in like 2 or 3 days. And then finished another plaque, 3 snowflakes. I know that sounds weird, but those are done. That flag box it's been done. I let it cure for a while. I don't know how I missed this, but I missed the dude's number for the date. So it says September 19, like 38 or something like that. I missed the 7. I was like, mother. So I ripped that off and put a new one on. That was my bad. He's like, oh, I'll pay for the new one. I make mistakes all the time. And I was like, no, man, it's my bad. I made the mistake. So I'm going to fix it free of charge. And speaking of those things, in the corner, which you cannot see, I'm actually just going to kind of do one of these numbers. Up there, you'll see some Nap Snotty Works tape on some boxes. Those are getting sent out tomorrow. I was going to send them today, but I got lazy. And I didn't feel like taking 2 trips to the UPS store this week, so I'll be doing that tomorrow because the other individual got their address to me. But I did that. The updates for that chest shadow box. So for my patrons, that is it right there. You can even see the quilt / curl without even really any crazy lighting. I'm pretty excited to put some finish on that thing. Once I get to that point, that's the final step. I don't want to touch it with finish until I'm done with everything else. I'm going to do the shadow box tray and stuff tomorrow. I think all my placements and finishing work will be Thursday evening, just to give myself a realistic timetable and deliver that guy to his actual retirement at 2:30 on Friday, pending my job decides to, not come up with random things to keep me out of my shop. Because I literally feel like it was like work against the world this week. It was like, oh, we're done at 11 o'clock. Oh, hey, by the way, we need to tell you something, but we won't tell you till this time. And we're like, okay. So literally like wasting my time, wasting away at work while I could be in the shop working and, actually making money.
It's hurry up and wait, man.
It is. And it's honestly it's kind of annoying because I wish it was hurry up and wait for something that was important, but it is what it is.
You're important.
We find you're very important, man. Don't worry about it.
I'll wait for you.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. Even though I haven't waited for you the past couple of days. Like today, my kid was sick, so I was like, yeah, I gotta go. After I graded some packages for some awards or something like that. And I was like, yep.
I don't know what I was doing. I just graded them real quick and left.
No, actually,
I was throwing darts at a board and
you win.
And you get the. Bullseye, you win.
The queue is starting to fill up for after the holidays already. I had an individual reach out to me for a cutting board that I ended up buying 10 quarter maple for. No, I did not need 10 quarter, but that's all I had where I was at. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'll buy it. I'll use it, whatever. They want, and I hate to say this, I sold out for some money. I ended up having to make, they want an American flag styled brisket tray. Like they want to be able to just put a brisket on it. I mean, there's nothing really more American than that. Now, whether they cut on it or not is a whole nother story. I hope they don't. That's Old Glory. But if they do, that's their prerogative.
How are you going to do it?
Well, I'm actually going to be trying V-carve inlay for the first time for the stars.
Ooh.
That's the first thing because I'm trying to stay away from epoxy and cutting boards if I can.
Yep.
But even if I do, and Josh, you can fight me for this, come all the way from New Jersey, and I will fight you. As long as you're not chopping and not chipping the epoxy off into your food, you're fine. But even still, I mean,
if it's food safe, you're good, right?
I mean, sure. I mean, I eat epoxy for dinner, so it's not a big deal.
Look, charcuterie boards should remain with epoxy. Yes, I've made cutting boards with epoxy inlays in them, but with the express, concern to the customer of, we could do this, but like once you start scratching this up, we got to do some work to get it polished up again. And if it chips off into your food, it's on you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Wood inlays are always going to be the better option when it comes to a cutting board.
Yeah. And that's something I'm going to try out.
Yeah, I would go that road.
I'm not really sure, though, what I'm going to do the union out of because I don't really have 8-quarter cherry laying around. So I think I'm just going to go maple union with walnut stars and red stripes will be walnut. So just be a walnut and maple board.
Fair enough. Like a subdued type.
Yeah. They're giving me creative autonomy. So I was like, okay. And then they want me to laser etch it too. And I'm just like, man, y'all are asking for a lot right now. But they wanted it before Christmas, and I was like, no.
There's no way, man.
I told them straight up, I was like, listen, I cannot meet that deadline. She's like, well, can I still place an order with you anyway? So I was like, yeah, sure. You just won't get it before Christmas. And they're fully aware, so I'm off the hook for that. So I'm pretty happy that they are still going with me for something because they obviously like something that I made. I did get another order for February. I've got 3 orders for February. 2 things for a military training instructor, a squadron, and then I actually got hooked up with medical now. A person that was a military training instructor works at medical who got in touch with their people for annual awards. So I'll be making 9 annual awards out of to be determined, but it is going to be a walnut cherry variation or variety, if you will. It'll be 2-tone. The base will be walnut, and the Texas shaped plaque, and yes, Texas is coming back again, will be mounted to this circle. However, I told them, hey, I can do a base cherry, which is this regular grain, and then I ended up showing them like this quilted, curly stuff. And as I can do this though, and we can, make it a little nicer for a little extra money. So she's gonna let me know about the budget this next week.
They'll be like, nah, go cheapest we can. Make it look good.
Got plywood. We got plywood.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll go get some the MDF out the back, maybe some melamine. It'll be good.
I want to make an OSB plaque.
No, you joke about that all the time, though, because like when we talk about some of the things I make, you could just give them some OSB and said, "Hey, you gave me creative autonomy. Thanks for your money. Have a nice day." Like,
oh yeah, it's definitely last job you'd be doing for them, though.
Last job you'd be doing for
funny,
anybody.
But if you go on Etsy and you search some of these products, plaques, whatever, there's literally people making like catch-alls and stuff like out of plywood, and it just amazes me. Stained plywood, and they call it.
Are they selling though?
Yes, they're selling. Someone came to us and they're like, "Hey, we want this like catch-all with like a watch, this, that, and the other thing display," and it comes apart. I'm like, okay. And I look at it, and you can clearly see it's all plywood. It's like they cut plywood out and then they stacked it on top of each other to create this tray and then this backer and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's the price it is, and the price I'm giving you is because it could be made of hardwood.
You mean like the walnut one I did a while back? Remember I did that catch-all tray for that person? It was made of walnut. It was 2 pieces. It housed I can't find it on my IG because I think that was the one post you said, hey, you should probably put multiple posts. But I made one exactly out of walnut, and it was the exact same thing. It was literally a bunch of compartments with a top portion that comes out, and then you put the wallet, the phone, all this stuff on it. Yeah,
it's just I find it funny, like people come to you asking to make these things, and a lot of times it's a screenshot, and they'll forget to take the price out, what have you, or they'll leave the price in, hoping that you match it or come close. And like sometimes you take a look at the product and you take a look at the price, and you're like, that makes sense for what you're getting. But from what you're getting from me, it's going to be different because I use high quality materials.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
And that's the problem, is people don't want to pay top dollar for top quality.
Some people.
So, okay.
A lot of people.
A lot of people. Like 10% will pay for quality, 90% just want something made out of plywood. And honestly, it takes a salesman to convince them otherwise.
I don't know about that because, like, honestly, I come to a place, and I don't know if you guys are there too, but if someone comes at me and they're like, hey, I want this, I'm going to give them a price for how I'm going to make it. They don't like the price, then I'm sorry. Maybe I could do a little extra to work with you, maybe use cheaper wood, what have you, but I'm still not going to use plywood to make your thing.
Yeah.
I draw a line somewhere,
So there definitely are uses for plywood. Like I know there's walnut veneered plywood and all that stuff, but if it's like the main feature, like if you need to cover a lot of area and the budget is not there for like planks that you can, glue up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to frame it in, except like my thing is the edges of plywood are just so ugly. And if it chips, I mean, you're kind of screwed at that point. Yeah. So, and then if you sand through the veneer, you could be like almost done with a project and accidentally sand through the veneer on plywood, and then you gotta figure that one out.
Plywood, I do use like the USO project. The whole thing is made out of plywood, but that's what they wanted. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want a hardwood. They wanted it cheap. They bought the materials for me. They wanted it this way. But they're gonna paint it jet black, like the black shirt I'm wearing. So it doesn't even matter.
Well, not even that. It's structural. So I understand like hardwoods can be structural, right? But when it comes to like plywood and stuff like that, like they make houses and stuff with stuff that's thinner than that. Like, so I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it is customer preference. But I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people, when it comes to good hardwood, not like oak, I know Nick hates oak and you hate oak too, I think.
I'd rather use oak than plywood, shoot.
But I mean, at the end of the day, like, hardwood now is finally starting to go up here in Texas. Like, walnut was one price. Now it's another. It's about $1.50 higher.
One price. Now it's another.
Yeah.
Very good.
No, so we paid what? We paid what? $7.33 a board foot for 4/4 rough sawn, and now it's $8.10, $8.13 or something like that. Which tells me like crap. Like, that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but when it comes to totaling out your prices for stuff, like the cost goes up. And then people wonder why it happens.
Yep.
But let me finish up the shop here, just because I know Nick is chomping at the bit to get into the shop.
Finish up your shop already.
Bite me. Trying to think if there's anything else really going on. Oh, and then the laser job I was talking about, the easy one. It's really not that easy because I've never done it. It's one of those half cap motorcycle helmets.
Oh, skull cap.
Yeah, they want me to. This is the one they want me to laser etch the squadron badge on
it. You might want to like do some research so you don't like melt that.
So no, I have actually looked into it already. I looked at the material of the helmet. I'm gonna run it the lowest my laser can go on a pass just to see. 7% is, and you got to do it fast too. You don't want to run slow. It'll probably be at 250 at 7%. And that'll barely touch this. It should barely touch it. But I've also laser etched acrylic. No, don't even joke.
Could you imagine, like, you accidentally cut the skull cap in half?
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. I put a hole in it. It cut straight through it. But I've laser edged duck calls, acrylic duck calls, like, what is it called? Pressure treated, like, acrylic duck calls. And 25% is maybe a little too much, on the rotary, but I'll definitely be starting it off at 7. If it's too light, I'll put a little bit and I'll just keep going until I'm pleased with it. it'll take some time, but it'll be worth it in the end, especially because I'm charging a rush fee. They need it by Friday.
Nice.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's all I got going on in the shop. I mean, the box, like I said, is behind me. It's flocked. I'm not taking the top off.
I have to say, you have one hell of a nice box right there.
Hey, thank you.
That's right.
I've been told that often.
I like the flocking. It matches so well.
Yet I haven't been promoted, man. But anyways, so real quick, flocking dilemma. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do, but however, after I chose the best side of the wood, it really wasn't hiding much. To be honest with you, I picked the best sides, and I even when I cut this thing down. I actually cut it to where the seam matched, so the waves matched, especially on the top. And I'm not pulling it off. I said I wasn't going to. But there's literally like a nothing but a waves on the top of this lid. There's no straight grain at all. I'm really excited to put finish on it.
Did you have any problems with the top portion of that box that you wanted to share?
Oh, shut up. So real quick, funny thing about flush trimming, curly or quilted wood. You need to be a little careful. Because the straight bit don't like it. And it snatched the whole corner of this son of a gun for the PG version right off. And old me, I would have freaked out. I would have been like, my life is over. I would have called Nick and I would have been cussing up a storm. And Nick has been on the receiving end of two of those conversations. I just sat there and I thought to myself, I was like, well, what am I going to do now? So I was like, well, I wanted to try something, and that was do a chamfer, but more extreme with my table saw. I just wanted to see how it would look. So I took my square. I made a 45-degree angle at the shallowest part or I guess the deepest part of the break, which wasn't very far. Cut it through, and honestly, I like it. It looks a heck of a lot better than a small chamfer, at least in my opinion. It's just more pronounced and says, "Hey, I'm a chest. Like, this is the lid." It's not like very. I don't know. The feature looks nice, I think.
So yeah, Nap got a hold of me about his mess up there. Well, his feature that he was trying to figure out how to fix. I figured out for myself a while ago. One of those straight blade flush trim bits is definitely more harsh on the wood. Like, just think about it like this: if you're running wood through a straight blade planer as opposed to like a spiral head planer, so I went and invested in a Whiteside Ultimate trim combination router bit. And the thing, I mean, it's expensive, but it's one giant piece of carbide that's all spiral. It's like it shears the wood. It's spiraled up and down, and it has your bearings at the top and at the bottom. So you got to really try to jack that up if you want to, if you're trying to mess up the edge grain or end grain of the wood when you're flush trimming, you have to really try with this bit. But it's so smooth. Now they're available on Amazon for like $185. I'm looking at one right now. But your model number's the UDC9112. It's a Whiteside Ultimate Flush Trim bit. Give it a look. I mean, even if you can't afford it, it's still fun to look at because it's a pretty router bit. I'm gonna tell you that. But
that's the one you have at your house, right? The one that you showed me.
Yeah. I got that at Woodcraft.
Thing's huge.
It's a monster, but it does what it's supposed to do. And for say you have a momentary judgment lapse on direction, you won't. Chances are, I can't say you won't, but chances are you won't get punished for it, especially when you're like in the end stages of assembling a box or cutting off the finger joints and stuff like that. So
yeah, and that's really what it was. I was flushing the top because I glued the top on, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna cut the lid off, and I'm gonna do this whole thing. And yeah, I was mad for a second, then realized I could fix it. And it turned out good. I think it looks good. Now it's just a matter of doing the rest, getting the 2 trays ready and sending, going to the retirement ceremony. Well, and that's all I got going on in my shop. I'm sure I'm missing something, but I got so much crap going on. It's just like, it never stops, but it's fine because I got a break after the 20th. So, Nick, what about you, man? What you got going in the shop? You're busy as heck over there.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody's been watching my Instagram, but I posted up a picture of the flag box I just completed. I think that was earlier this week or late last week.
Very nice.
That's gone. Thanks. That was my first flag box that I've ever made. But so in order for me to get things right, I actually purchased a funeral size flag, just so I could have it for fit purposes. I realized that there's standard sizes for these boxes because those flags are the same size no matter how you fold them. But sometimes there's just some things you want to be able to check, like the depth of how deep that flag will lay in there, or just whatever. So I have that. Finished it, sent it off. Hopefully the customer likes that. And I've been getting a lot of like last minute plaque orders, which is cool because plaques are easy. Like I had a military working dog plaque to do, and I finished that up. I used Halcyon to finish it. It came out. The finish came out absolutely like nice and gorgeous. I used satin on it. I usually use gloss, but the satin came out nice and shiny, which is cool. Had a nice sheen to it. I had a lady hit me up for a cup to get etched, like a Yeti cup. And it was for her kid because her kid's getting it for Christmas in her stocking stuffer. So I was like, well, here, I just put the name on there. I didn't even charge her. I'm like, the kid's like 5 years old. Oh, I received AJ's flag. I ordered it probably around episode 50 or before. But AJ Commaroto made me a flag from Crafted in NJ. Shipped it to me, and now I have it. It's one of them wavy flags. It's hanging at work. I'm super stoked about it. It's really nice. So if you're looking for a wavy flag, check him out. He makes excellent wavy flags. I know we've talked about it before on the podcast, but he's one of those guys that like he perfects. The cuts all disc is like his paintbrush because he's like an artiste with that. The guys up at 87th SFS up at Fort Dix hit me up yesterday. They're like,
I hope they don't want their signs.
Well, no, they do. We're getting them to them, but they wanted a rush order for 3 Defender tabs, like plaques. So I was like, okay. They're like, when do you need them? So they're like, Friday. I was like, all right, well, let's hurry up. So I did them all last night. Shipped them out.
This freaking guy right here, man. I'm telling you right now, him and his freaking Etsy orders and these tabs.
Oh, that wasn't an Etsy order. That was like some dude.
Just regular.
Dude just hit me up. Like I was Jesus. Like, it was at the end of the workday, and he's like, "Hey man, you got time for this?" And I was like, "No, but for the right price, I'll make sure it happens." So
that's always it right there, right?
My Etsy's been blowing up too, man. Speaking of that, Nap still doesn't have an Etsy, by the way, but my Etsy's been nuts.
I have an excuse for this, by the way.
Like my Etsy's been going nuts, and it's all for like the same style thing. So I've been working on getting those out. I try to get them out early. I'm trying to get them to the customers before Christmas, but we'll see how that plays out because it's not up to me. It's up to the post office and UPS.
Who I hate with a burning passion.
I like UPS. But and then I'm doing another plaque just due Thursday, Friday time frame, and for the same guy that Nap's doing his project for. It's just for a different organization presenting it. And I'm trying to think. I'm tired. I was up late last night working, and I'm trying to think of anything else that happened this week because it's all a blur now. You know, you just like you get moving, and then you just like things flow into other things, and
it's been like that, man. Like I'm wondering where these days are even going right now because like you start one like I'm surprised I'm even on track right now. To be honest with you. I spent an entire day on this box. Like I don't even know how the heck. And I know he deals with the kids quite often.
Oh yeah,
like always in his chili. He somehow makes it happen. Like I've got one. He's got 2 heathens. And any of you makers that are parents out there know it's rough. Like you're probably not getting to the shop until 8:30, right? Something like that.
Typically. But I do have a couple orders. People have placed orders for memory boxes. So I have 2 of those to make. On the 20th, I will be on vacation. So I'm going to do both of those at the same time, as well as a shadow box and a urn. So for one of my friends, family members who passed. So I'm gonna do all that. I'm gonna try and do it all at once because cutting finger joints is like, I don't know if you've ever done it with a dado stack. It's kind of a pain because if you're doing multiples and you don't do them at the same time, because you got to go back and forth and reset the saw up. So all these have like due dates that are early January to mid January. So I should be fine. I start on the 20th. I'll be able to get all three of them done by the 25th, the 30th, and before the 30th, and then ship them out, and then the customers will get them. And then I have another sign to do for a gentleman from up there in New Jersey as well. But yeah, that's about it. I'm sure there's more. I have a list, but those are the ones that stick out at the moment. I've been watching the Makers Community Project on Instagram, and they did their drawing last night the raffle last night for the Stepcraft CNC machine.
Who won that?
So, I don't remember the guy's name, but it wasn't me. So that's
what's important.
That's the important one, right? But yeah, they generated like $16,000 worth of revenue for the project, which is outstanding. And they got around $3,000 worth of orders, like of profit from the orders of their merchandise after obviously they paid the people that made them to do the job. So they're in full swing. They're going to do, I know they're coming up with something else here. They're always cooking something up, but check them out at the Makers Community Project, or the Maker Community Project, right? On Instagram.
Yeah, it's Maker, not Makers.
Yeah, sorry, the Maker Community Project. If you see the sign, I probably should have just looked behind me. It's because it's on my flag on my wall, and that was fun to watch. You know, there's always like that element of like, am I going to win? And then, and no, go back to my lair.
Oh,
go back to your lair, peasant.
It's all good though. So that's all I really have that's going on in my shop. I know you guys have been busy, but I got to ask you, what do you think when somebody says, I need something, like, and you have to get it done the same day? Will you oblige them?
It depends on who it is and what it is.
Okay. What if it's just a quick CNC project?
Depends.
Like what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Let's say you got to make a plaque, or say it's a laser project, or something you throw on the CNC machine.
Yeah, I'm making it just because, one, I'd be stupid to not make a quick dollar off of my machines doing the work and not really myself. I mean, realistically speaking, if you really want to get down and dirty with it, I mean, if I'm not doing any physical labor other than maybe sanding and some finishing maybe, and attaching a sawtooth hanger on the back, like, why not? That's easy, depending on what it is, maybe $100.
Oh, yeah, Nat put me on these sawtooth hangers off Amazon, and they are legit.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely legit.
Like, I love the the flat French cleat, but I've been doing the double sawtooth hangers with the recess in the frame.
Yeah, those are great. The D clip or hangers are good. I mean, like, it depends what the project is. Yeah, I knew you'd jump on that.
Hey, so I want to Josh, did you answer? Because I have another point of order here.
Yeah, honestly, I'm with Nap. Honestly, unless I could not do it, I would probably knock it out real quick, get it done and out. Quick money.
Oh, I hear you. It's easy money, even if it's cutting into your other orders.
Well, depends, because I could throw it on the laser engraver, keep working. Sanding, finishing don't take long.
So, and same thing with Josh is saying, but I'm gonna tell you what, if I had Nick, I know you're getting ready to get your spindle up and running officially because of, getting your laptop and stuff, which is pretty awesome. But with what you're running with now, it's going to take you longer than it would take me. So if I'm cutting a plaque or a shape out, like, it takes me 10 minutes to cut a shape out with my spindle. So I know it's going to take 10 to 15 to get it out, untab it and all that stuff. It's not really going to interrupt the flow of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it also depends, again, what it is, what else you're working on in the shop, and is the price right?
Yeah.
Price is wrong, Bob.
I mean, there will be charged definitely a pretty hefty rush fee for that, but
$75 easy. If it's same day, I'm charging $75. And if anybody else thinks that's outrageous, well, you must not have a huge like workflow, because anybody that's getting stuff on the same day orders is probably somebody that's got a lot of stuff going on. To be honest with you, that's what I would think.
Yeah, I get you. So the other thing I wanted to mention was I mentioned a contest. It was probably about a month ago now, about sending us a recent finished project that you were proud of, or that you just wanted to show off. And the winners, there's going to be 2 winners from all the entries that we got. And so here's the deal, right? If we have a contest and there's 2 winners, we clearly mark that out, and only 2 people submit. Guess what? We still have 2 winners. So without further ado, I want to thank Joey Gonzalez from Joey Steelblade Woodworks and Greg Wellaway from Platte Valley Woodworks for submitting. But unfortunately, nobody won. No, I'm playing. Both of you guys are winners. Congratulations. Congratulations. I'm going to be sending out some custom Sawdust Nation podcast coasters to you guys. I have your addresses. We will get them out to you here shortly. I wouldn't expect them before Christmas, though. I'll just put it that way. It might be a little bit after Christmas when you get them. But so like everybody else, though, check it out. If you're listening, which I know we have listeners because we see the metrics, unless Josh is just sitting and like refreshing and listening over and over again.
All my Alexa devices play the same thing over and over.
That's right. He's pulling most of our metrics out. So Josh has got like 10,000 downloads a month on us. But if you are listening and we open up a contest like that, it is so easy for you to just enter. All you have to do is take a picture and email it, or take a picture and send it to the Instagram, the Sawdust Nation Podcast Instagram, and we get it. We see it. We all 3 see it. We all have access to these accounts. So please, by all means, next time we have something like that, don't be shy. Even if you're hesitant about it, right? We still love to see what kind of stuff you guys are working on. So, because Lord knows we post our stuff up on Instagram all the time. Some stuff we don't post because we mess it up really badly, like me.
Like the Sawdust Nation podcast flag I did this last week.
Yeah. So, but that being said, thank you to both Greg and Joey for entering, and congratulations once again. It was steep competition.
On that note of like us being on our Instagram, all 3 of us being there, being able to answer everything. Been having a lot of chats lately, and I'm gonna tell you what. The shop never stops. The shop never stops evolving. And there's something about makers that when we see something that we think we can make stuff out of, we got to have it. Okay, so I was talking to Victor at Whim Designs. And I'm going to tell you what, my man is he's a mad scientist. Like, he's a mad scientist of makers. Because he literally looks at something and says, yeah, I can probably make something out of this. This man may or may not, and hopefully he doesn't say, Nap, I didn't want you to talk about this. He didn't say that, so I mean, he loves the podcast. He'll hear this once we release it.
He's going to hear it early. He's one of our patrons.
One of our patrons. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's going to hear it as soon as we release this uncut version here.
So leaves your mouth.
He's trying to make a monster CNC from extrusions
He is.
So, okay, rephrase. He is. It's a matter now of logistics, and we had a good conversation yesterday. And in talking about it now, I'm very limited in I guess not how it works, but how to put one together, right? But as I'm talking about it, I didn't realize how much stuff really went into making a CNC. The structure's cool and everything, right? But we started talking about ball screws and linear rails and all these things, and I'm something clicked. I was anybody can really make the CNC possibly, right? But then it's a software component that gets a little dicey. And we start talking about that, if you, let's say, mix a linear rail system with a ball screw system, your steps are going to be different, all this stuff. And I'm going to tell you what, be looking out for Victor at Whim Designs, because I'm pretty sure he's going to turn something out. Because knowing him, he's probably grinding his gears right now about it.
He's going to Frankenstein the crap out of that extruded aluminum. And I got one thing for Victor: if you build it, they will come. I'm just saying.
He's not wrong, though. I mean, And I also like pointed him in the direction of like, Daniel Pone CNC. He's got a lot of good information. I even said, hey, reach out to like, CNC for newbies and all these people, because believe it or not, like these people, I would assume are pretty helpful, especially if you've got questions. Especially Daniel. Like Daniel's always on the horn. I've never dealt with CNC for newbies personally, but from what I've heard, they're pretty helpful over there. I was like, hey man, if you're going to make end plates, there's people that have done this before. Figure out what they went through to get it, because if you're going to make end plates for your, let's say your gantry, okay, don't go and recreate the wheel. Maybe get some tips, maybe some lessons learned, so that way you're not having to do more work than you have to, like I did with like Nick and the flag box thing. He saved me probably hours of time by just giving me a couple quick tips and tricks. And I know that's not a CNC.
Work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
That's right. And that, so like, as far as the whole, community before competition, that message that we push from the Maker Community Project. So check it out. If you are on Instagram, if you're not on Instagram, you are missing out. It's free. I'm not a spokesperson for Instagram. I don't have any like monetary gain from Instagram, but there is so much knowledge out there that all you have to do is look. And people like, I've seen things out there that I've ripped ideas off of people, not saying like, yeah, I've ripped them off straight up. So, but I took ideas from people, right? And it's just
podcast is not liable for MPG creations.
Well, so I mean, you got to think about it. Like, you don't know until you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So if you see something that you like, a technique that you like, then reach out. I've reached out to so many people for information on things, and most of the time, more often than not, that they're more than willing to give me some sort of like, hey, this is how I did this, or hey, this is how, this is what material you want to use in your settings. So check it out, man. If you're in the game and you're not online, you don't even need a phone. You can get on the computer and look up Instagram, and it's all free.
We do actually, talking about Victor from Wim Designs. He actually gave us a voicemail for this podcast today.
Oh, he did?
So he
Good
did.
Segue.
So let's throw that on there, and we'll spin that.
DJ, spin that.
Hey guys, this is me again, Victor from Wim Designs. I just wanted to take a second, say thank you again for all your inspiration as you guys, hand out every week. But there's not going to be any questions. This is a call to action to everybody and anybody that has a CNC or has any information on a CNC. As you know, I've come into some extrusion, the aluminum kind, and I'd love to build myself a 2x4 CNC. So I'm just looking for some information. If anybody's out there, you can DM me, Wim Designs on Instagram. I appreciate anybody's time and help, and hopefully I'll be able to get this made in the next year. Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Victor from Wim Designs.
Zines.
Got that party horn going.
And you want to know, thank you, Victor, for sending in that voicemail. Because I ain't going to lie, it don't always got to be a question. If you need to get information out there, what better way to ask on a podcast, right?
Right. Like especially a mid-level, semi-popular podcast.
Semi-popular. But hey, so I also wanted to talk about, do you have anything, Josh? Because you've been fairly quiet, man. I don't want to just steal the show today.
No, go for it, man.
Okay.
Actually,
so
no.
So check this out. So I know we talk a lot about CNCs, we talk a lot about woodworking, all these things. But another maker that reached out to me is a woodworker, but also does these router sleds. And I've been talking to him about these things. It's Brent Jarvis over at Clean Cut Woodworking. So recently I've run into this, a lot of forums, a lot of comments on like using drum sanders as thickness planers, essentially.
Yeah.
And well, unfortunately, I'll tell you right now, getting one of those large machines is not only costly, but also takes up a big footprint in the shop. But there's these router sleds out there that you can, and I really didn't realize this was a big thing until I saw his whole setup. He makes these router sleds that kind of like a CNC mimic, except it's hand driven. So like you get whatever size, router you'll use. Most people, and I think the ones they use is Triton. That's the main one, because those are workhorses from what I've been told. I've never used it, so I don't know much about them. Josh, do you know much about that router?
I do. I haven't per se used it, but I know someone currently in use of it, and they kind of gave me a review of it, and they are workhorses. There's some, pros and cons like anything. Like you just got to kind of jump into it and use it. They're going to definitely do what you need to do. It's going to tear through pretty much anything. I think it has like a 3, not 3 horsepower.
So I thought it was 3.5 horsepower or something like that. It's a monster.
It is.
I thought, 3.25 or something like that. But it's up there, and it's going to cut through anything you throw at it. I know someone that's using it for basically a router sled. Sometimes they have to watch, exactly what they're doing because they'll be tearing through so much wood and not even realize it. A go-to for a lot of people using router sled like that. So
they have a 3.25 and a 2.25 horsepower. Yeah. And they don't even look like routers. They look like they look straight up like robots. They're freaking huge.
Like you got to hold on to them. But if you're going to do anything like that, that'd be the router I would buy. I haven't had the room for it in my shop, but eventually I will be getting something, when I get a bigger shop, so I could do stuff like that. Because CNC is great. If I had a 4x8, I'd throw it right on there. Coffee from Coffee Custom Builds does it for a bunch of slabs and stuff like that for his, but he has a Laguna and he can.
So kind of where I was going with that is like, if you can't get the 4x8 or any of those things, but you are trying to like thickness plane, anything huge, looking at a router sled might not be a bad idea, just because it is something that you can put up possibly when you don't need it, but also you can do huge pieces with it and have some control over it, and it's not going to break the bank either.
Some are pretty expensive.
They are, but I mean, at the same time,
for what they can do.
So if you look at Nick Offerman, if you go on search his information on YouTube, there's like a shop tour. He made one out of wood, so his router sled is completely out of wood, and he just waxes up. It uses paste wax to get it to slide nice and easy. And because he was going to go buy one of the contraptions, and he was like, yeah, there's no way I'm spending that money on, steel or extruded aluminum or whatever. So
that's a whole conversation on its own. Pretty much everything, all these jigs and stuff that we buy, you could always make them. It's basically cost time, because like just naming some of the box jigs that we have and stuff like that, you can absolutely make any of that. In fact, I ran into the guy that I got the Inker jig, box jig from. He's like, I made my own, and I like it more than I did this. So that's the reason why he sold it to me. But it's a time thing too. If you're in the shop and you're just having fun, make all your jigs. But for us, it's the time saver of being able to buy a jig like that and just go.
And all that to say, because we're going to get into something a little different as far as finish is concerned, but if you are looking maybe for a router sled or anything like that, I mean, take a look over at Clean Cut Woodworking. He does make some pretty awesome stuff, but also has a lot of good advice as well. And going into finishes a little bit, we love Odies Oil. That's like one of my favorite go-tos, right? It's all of our go-tos. But I wasn't very much aware, and I've seen a lot of these things out there, like Danish oil and tongue oils and all these things, right? But Danish oil, I never really thought of you ever using it for anything. Now, mind you, everything has its place. Every project has its finish, if you will, depending on what it's used for. The one thing I found out with this stuff, I mean, it cures in 8 hours. It's called tried and true Danish oil. It's a polymerized Danish oil, which pretty much means that it's going to harden like a varnish. And as long as, you're not beating it up, like if it's not like a high use thing, it's going to stay pretty vibrant. I use it on my first project, and I can't say I have any complaints as of now. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, Odies oil, yes, is awesome. What about Danish oil? What do you got? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
So I honestly think it depends on, there's a lot of oils and different finishes out there. It's about preference. That's what it comes down to. Like anything, different finishes will give you different results. And, there's advantages and disadvantages to pretty much everything out there. So it's about doing the research, knowing what those are, and be able to applying them and, working the finish itself as well. One of the reasons, one of my go-tos is Odies is because I can stand the smell. You know what I'm saying? My wife loves the smell. And then on top of it, it's so easy to just use, and it lasts a while. I've had things in the house that I use as Odies on it, and it's gone, 6 months or more, and it looks great, waterproof and all that. But I've used Danish oil before too, and it worked just as well. It really depends on your preference. I have an uncle that Woodworks, and he calls me quite often with different, mad scientist questions. And he came at me with, and this is kind of going on a tangent a little bit, and I apologize, but he wanted to use Coleman's propane to dry stain, something that I've never heard of. And when I did the research, I just could not find pretty much anything about. And I think I reached out to these gentlemen, and Nap was the one that.
No, it was. I'd never heard about it, but it's something different.
Yeah. Long story short, he just went and did it, and he came back and said it worked perfect. It was old stain. It was like 5 years old, and he used it, and it wasn't drying right, and it worked. So the point I'm trying to get at here is it's all about preference and know-how. You could pretty much accomplish any kind of finish with, multiple different types of, finishes. It's all
finish it.
Yeah. It's about preference. I think Danish oil is a wonderful finish. And if you haven't tried it, I encourage you to try different finishes. Because who knows? You might prefer one over the other. Do your research, though.
I'm not going to cheat on Odies. I love Odies, man. Check it out. This week, right, I pulled out the old cowboy boots. They were looking a little dry. So I threw some Odies on them. I knew that Odies would help moisturize leather. And I was like, you know what? I'm about to go out, take my wife out for her birthday, and I'm wearing these cowboy boots. But I don't want them to look like they just came off the darn range. So I threw some Odies on them, and I took my Merca D-Rose 650 with an Orca Braces buffing pad, and I went to town on them. And I tell you what, they look like $1 million after Odies oil, and they smelled great too. So, can you do that with Danish oil? I don't think so. Mic drop.
Combust. You'd be on fire.
I mean, you got a point, but like, so Odies is wax and oil based, whereas Danish oil is not wax based. Oh, anyways, but no, I was just asking, I'm not saying I prefer one over the other because I like both finishes, but as we were saying, every finish has its place. And it was also just me trying something new, because at the end of the day, if I will use Odies on a majority of the things that I do. However, if someone doesn't want Odies and they want Danish oil, I know how to apply it now. If they want. Go ahead.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, but you bring up a good point. The example I was going to pull up is when I did Nick's and AJ's mallet. I reached out to both of them and asked them how they wanted their mallets to be finished. Because I was using at the time, I forget what oil. It wasn't Odies. It was something different. And I wanted to ensure that they were going to be able to, if they wanted to, revive it with whatever oil I use. So it's just a courtesy thing. Sorry, Nap. Kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, that was the point. I wanted to see what y'all's thoughts were, and I think we have the verdict.
Use whatever you want to use.
Use what you want to use.
Whatever you want to use. You can even make your own. You can even make your own board butter if you want. So do what you want.
There's a lot of people that do that too. I would love to do it myself. I just haven't done it yet. Being a mad scientist, being a maker, and just, even for this podcast, ain't about, just being a woodworker. It's about going out there and exploring and being a mad scientist in the shop and creating. With that, gentlemen, do you got anything else to add? Or do you want to wrap this one up?
Let's put a bow on it, bro.
Make it pretty there, Nick.
All right. So once again, thank you to PWN CNC for making this episode possible. If you haven't checked them out, check them out today. Go to pwncnc.com. Check out those spindle kits. Use promo code SawdustNation for 10% off your order. And also check out Totalboat because they also support us as a podcast. Totalboat has that epoxy, so you need it. They got it. Totalboat.com. Check them out. if you need that promo code, shoot us a DM at Sawdust Nation Podcast or an email at sawdustnationpodcast@gmail.com. We will get you that 10% off promo code. And Jtechphotonics, thanks again for your continued support. But patrons, I can't stress this enough. The problem with podcasts are they're not cheap, but we appreciate you guys supporting us every month, and you should be getting something in the mail soon from us. If you're a patron, you should be seeing something that says Sawdust Nation Podcast coming to you direct from me. So keep your eyes peeled. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to kick it on over to Josh.
Hey, if you want to get in contact with us, you know how to. You can reach us on Instagram at the Sawdust Nation Podcast page, or you can reach us at our personal Instagram pages. Nap from Nap Snotty Works LLC. He's always willing to talk to somebody. You have Nick from NPG Creations. You never know what he's going to write back. And myself, Josh from North Country Woodworking. You know, Instagram is definitely one of the platforms that we have contact information on. If you also want to send us pictures or voicemails or anything else like that, you could do it on Google and just go to your Gmail and type in Sawdust Nation Podcast at gmail.com. Send us, those pictures or that voicemail or what have you. And one of us will get back to you eventually. Sooner rather than later, hopefully. But
Yeah.
With that, we always like to hear what you guys have. Nat, what you got?
Well, as always, you can catch us on any podcast catcher, but if you happen to listen to us on the old Apple podcast, go ahead and give us 5 stars. If you don't give us 5 stars, let us know why, so we can give you the content that you deserve. I know that seems to be like a broken record, but it is a real thing, because without feedback, we can't be better. And somehow, coincidentally, we all have our tape measures. And if you're a patron, you'll see the shenanigans. Somehow, all of us had one in our offices, which is honestly quite impressive. But
It's no wonder I can't find it in the shop. It's up here.
But yeah, that's what I got. Josh, anything else from you before we get final words?
I don't know. Am I forgetting something?
I don't know. Are you? I'm just messing with you.
Nah, it's final. It's final words time, bro.
Yeah,
Send it
final
now.
words time. So we talked a lot about people getting in touch with us, just talking to us, having conversations, getting information and those things, and that's what we're here for. But that's what any maker is there for, or at least I would hope, because again, community over competition. Make sure you are supporting that, not only that cause, but that ideology, because it only makes all of us better as a community. So take care of each other and take care of everyone else. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, take care of yourselves and each other. And for anybody else that's getting coal for Christmas, maybe we can link up and get the grill going or something. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, we'll bring some breasts. Chicken breasts. Don't get excited, Nap. Anyway, so they always say you can never have enough clamps, but I think we've discovered you can never have enough tape measures. With that, hopefully you can turn us on while you're in the shop, in the car. Listen to us while you're eating dinner, what have you. Bring your tape measure with you, because you never know what we're going to use it for. And continue to make sawdust out there. And with that, Sawdust Nation out.
That's right, baby.
It is hilarious because we all had a tape measure within arm's reach.
Hey, mine's
right?
25 inches. What about yours?
I use mine to...
Mine too. Mine's feet, though.
I use mine. I keep one up here because I have my scale up here, and I do all my shipping information and stuff like that up here. So
Yeah, that's one of mine's here, too.
Hey,
Gotta
guys,
measure...
mine's stuck at this length. What do I do about it?
I don't know.
Is it more than 4 hours? I'm in trouble? What's going on?